Hey, what's up everyone? 40 the Broadway Saiyan here. Welcome back again to my YouTube channel, and I'm bringing you guys another exciting video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. In this video, we're going to be covering the next Lost Chapters going live soon on Global Opera Omnia, which is going to be featuring the return of Prompto from Final Fantasy 15. Joining Prompto as synergy for this particular Lost Chapters is going to be Freya and also King. King is not going to be getting any upgrades because he already got them previously, and unfortunately his EX weapon will not be repeating on this, but if you already have him, he's actually pretty solid for this particular Lost Chapters. Both Freya and Prompto will be getting reworks, which is pretty cool because they definitely needed it for this current point in time where we're seeing a lot more difficult chaos stages, we're seeing a lot more difficult dimensions end, so it's going to be really cool and exciting to see what these reworks actually did for them. There is going to be a banner, and the banner is going to be featuring the return of Prompto's gear, including his EX. It's going to be featuring the return of Freya and King's 15 and 35 CP weapons, and also the debut of Freya's EX weapon. Both of the EX weapons can be realized, and we will be covering those as well to see if they are worth your ingots or if even they're worth investing in. And then we're going to touch up a little bit on the Chaos difficulty boss fight, which is going to be featuring the boss fight against those Sergeant Imps, those really annoying Sergeant Imps. Now, before I move forward with the video, I always want to give a massive shout out to Dissidia DB and Rem because all of the information on this video comes directly from the Dissidia DB. I also want to give a big shout out to the Tonberry Troop. I'll be leaving a link down below in the video description as well as the pinned comments to their website. They always come up with these beautiful infographics which pretty much summarizes how you should be building these particular characters that we talk about on these videos, and also whether or not, you know, they're worth your investment and things like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the upcoming Prompto Lost Chapters in Global Opera Omnia.
そこだね任せてたーよーく狙ってあせよはあ息吹を乗せていくぞ舞い散る
Alright guys, so here we are. We're going to go ahead and talk about Prompto and Freya for Prompto's Lost Chapters because they are the characters that are going to be receiving their character adjustments or their reworks. So we're going to find out if these reworks actually did them some justice and if they can be, you know, definitely usable for the upcoming other Chaos content that we're going to be seeing in Global Opera Omnia. So to start things off, if you guys are unfamiliar with Prompto, for example, if you're a newer player or you're just recently getting into Opera Omnia and you missed out on Prompto when he first came out, in a nutshell, he was like a pseudo evasion tank with a taunt that batteries the party, and then he also had this mechanic called Break Mark. And the way you activate Break Mark is on the previous turn, if an enemy had been broken or was already attacked while broken, they're gonna have like this blue flashing icon, and what that does is it changes Prompto's Brave and HP commands into Overkill and Crackshot. And the cool thing about those is that they get added effects. For example, Crackshot ignores defense while it's active, so it makes Prompto a little bit longer lasting when it comes to longer fights. So the good thing about the character is that he has a lot of good longevity because, you know, he has those pretty you know, solid commands that you can count on, and that's pretty much what he did. He's also, you know, a decent ranged damage dealer. He also had some debuffs. I believe it's like he had like a 70% attack down on one of his commands, which, you know, that's actually pretty good. 70% attack reduction on an enemy can definitely mitigate a lot of incoming damage. One of the things that he struggled with as, you know, the game progressed was his damage output wasn't really quite there. Even with boards, he kind of started to suffer a little bit. And then to top it off, I mean, since he had so many roles put into one, but neither one of those roles really sticking out, he kind of just got outclassed. But he did get a rework, which is what we're going to go ahead and be going over here. So if we go right over here to the passive abilities, we're going to take a look at the extensions for both his skill 1 and his skill 2. So his Star Shell command, which is his skill 1, So now when you use it, you're going to get an increased Brave gain based on 100% of attack, which is pretty good. It's also going to be increasing the duration of his taunt or his lock and his 100% evasion rate up by 1 turn. So now you get to benefit from those for an additional turn, which is pretty good. He's also going to be giving the party now a 30% physical attack up, and this is for 12 turns. So that's actually not bad. That physical attack up, if you're running a completely physical, type party with no magic, is actually pretty solid. And then he also triggers a 3-hit range Brave plus HP attack. The potency on that, it's 80% for Brave hits, so that's like 240%. And this time it also has an overflow of up to 150%. So the 150% overflow helps him out, helps him push the damage cap out, dealing as much HP damage as possible. I do like how it's 3 hits on the Brave hits, so more chances to be able to break the target. And then the fact that he can now taunt a little bit longer and also capitalize on a longer 100% evasion is pretty good, so that way, he has a little bit of value in saving a party member from potential KO and just take all the aggro for himself. So then his second ability or skill, which is Piercer, now has 5 Brave hits, so we like more Brave hits. It gets an overall increased Brave potency of 150%, so that's actually a pretty big boost. And like I said earlier, Prompto struggled with damage. Damage is like one of the problems that he had coming in, to the later parts of the Chaos era. It now also has an overflow, 120%, so not bad. It also deals splash damage now, 50% splash damage to non-targets, which is pretty good. That defense down duration is increased to 2. And then his Life of the Party framed buff, it now has a max Brave Up effect of plus 10%, so it increases it by plus 10%, and the attack up is at 30%. And then when you're using his Brave Attack Plus now, prior to it transforming into Overkill, it now has 2 Brave hits and an increased total Brave damage potency of 40%. And then when it becomes Overkill, before he actually uses Overkill and deals damage with it, he's going to be increasing the party's Brave by 80% of his attack before he even delivers the Brave attacks. And then afterwards, he delivers 4 Brave hits, which is pretty good. He also increases the total Brave potency of this particular command by 40%, and it has a low action delay. And then his HP Attack Plus command now gets an increased Brave potency of 40%, and then Crack Shot, which is the HP Attack Plus transformation when you have that break mark applied, now gets an increased Brave potency of 40%, and also deals 20% HP splash damage to other targets. So pretty good upgrades. I like the damage increase that he got. I also like the added overflows because that's definitely going to be helping out a lot, because in these later Chaos fights, it's all about being able to deal as much damage as possible, especially because we know when bosses get to a certain HP threshold, they tend to buff up their defenses, and it comes in the form of an aura. And, the higher the defense is, it gets really, really difficult to be able to, get through, a lot of the HP sponge bosses that we're going to be running into. So Prompto got some pretty good upgrades in that sense to be able to deal out some damage. Now, his gear, we're going to go ahead and take a look at his EX weapon, which is Quicksilver. So this is an EX weapon that's going to be coming back. So Quicksilver is, in a nutshell, he deals range damage. It's It's a range Brave attack that is delivered 10 times. So it's a one-hit Brave plus HP attack that he executes 10 times. The first one is delivered to the target, and then afterwards the remaining 9 attacks is distributed depending on the amount of enemies. So in reality, this is really good against a single target boss, but if there's multiple bosses, it kind of diminishes. For me, it diminishes its potency and its capabilities because he's having to divide the damage out. But he does get that King's Buddy buff, which is pretty cool. And then when you finally realize his weapon, because he does get a realization with his weapon, this is the upgrade that it's going to get. So when he uses Trigger Happy, those Brave hits now become AoE. So rather than just, singling out, each enemy, if there's multiple enemies, he's actually just hitting them all. He's also going to get an increased Brave damage dealt to a single target by 60%, which is always nice. So again, if there's a single target boss, this is a great EX weapon, a great EX ability to be able to use to deal as much damage as possible. And then now it also has a Brave overflow of 120%. At 1 out of 3, he's going to be permanently raising his max Brave by 50% and his attack by 30%, allowing him to dish out more damage. At 2 out of 3, when the quest starts, he's going to be starting off with his Life of the Party and King's Buddy unique buffs for 6 turns, which is nice. And then finally, at 3 out of 3, his EX ability will get an additional increase in Brave potency by 150%. And then after he uses his EX ability Trigger Happy, his Brave attack and its variants, including Overkill, become their plus variants. So now he has Overkill Plus for 1 turn. And what this does now is Overkill Plus increases the party's Brave by 100% of his attack before his Brave attacks. The Brave hit becomes 4. It increases the total potency by 80%. It also now inflicts that attack down for 2 turns on the target, which is nice. And then it lowers the action delay further. His HP attack command, including Crack Shot, now gets the plus variance for 1 turn. It's now a 3-hit range Brave attack plus HP attack that ignores defense. It also increases the total Brave potency by 110%, which is nice. He also gets a Stolen Brave Overflow of 150% with this, and he deals 50% splash damage to other targets rather than just 20%. And as long as you have his Life of the Party active with this realization, his Brave attack, any of his Brave attacks at base turn into Brave Attack Plus Plus, which is just a 2-hit range Brave attack, and then same thing for his HP attack, becomes HP Plus Plus, which is a 2-hit range Brave plus HP attack with 80% per hit, so that's 160%, and also a Stolen Brave Overflow of 120%. So pretty good realization right there. Again, this EX ability, for me, shines if there's one boss, because you really capitalize on the amount of damage that Prompto can dish out with the EX ability, since it hits 10 times, but you would rather want to focus it on just one boss rather than multiple bosses. Now, the sphere that we get from this EX weapon is called Critical Attack Boost Up Long. So when you're dealing a critical hit, whenever a character is equipped with this and they deal a critical hit, they're going to be raising max Brave and attack by 5% for 6 turns. That's actually pretty solid. So that screams Aranea for me right off the bat. I know everybody has their opinions about Aranea, but I mean, this definitely benefits her if you have this sphere on her. So this is not a bad sphere. Prompto sphere is actually pretty solid. So overall, pretty good. Again, Prompto is still... My problem with him is that he's jack of all trades, master of none. They wanted to throw like bits and pieces of evasion tank, of taunting, of range damage, of debuffing, so he doesn't excel in anything particular, which makes him less desirable, but at least now they gave him a little bit more damage, which helps him out. And also, you know, his Crack Shot and his Overkill now got their upgrades, so his longevity is definitely there. And one thing that I do want to point out about his EX ability, it has a pretty fast recharge rate, so you can actually count on using this EX ability quite often, especially when you realize it's really capitalized on the potential amount of damage he can deal to a single target boss. So overall, he's a solid character. Now, as far as the banner goes in relation to this weapon, should you be pulling on this character? If you find value in a character that does bits and pieces of different things while not particularly well, but does them fairly solid, then maybe Prompto might be the character for you. Now, if you ask me personally, I'm probably going to be skipping on trying to get this weapon, just because we already know what's coming out for June and July, and then afterwards we're going to be right well into the LD and Burst era. So Prompto is fun to use. He's definitely going to be one of those more underappreciated, underrated characters, just because he's kind of all over the place. But if you want to try him out, he has some ways to definitely help your party out, save your party with the whole evasion, pseudo evasion, and also dish out a lot of damage to a single target. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about Freya. So Freya, for those of you that are unfamiliar with the character, she was one of the OG Cosmos champions. So she was used a lot in the Cosmos era just because she was able to provide your party Brave Battery. She was able to provide your party a pretty good HP regen with her framed buff, and she also had a stackable framed buff which increases attack and speed, and she also actually dealt fairly good damage, and she had decent longevity with her jump commands when her Brave attack and HP attack commands changes. So that's kind of Freya in a nutshell. She got a level 70 awakening earlier in Global Opera Omnia. Didn't really do too much for her because she was really lacking that EX weapon, but finally she is going to be getting an EX weapon with Prompto's Lost Chapters, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the EX weapon and the rework, starting off first with the rework, because we want to see what kind of upgrade she gets with her particular ability. So her skill 1, Raises Wind, now gets 2 additional uses, so you can actually you can actually use this a little bit more, because one of the issues with skill 1 was she didn't have a lot of uses. And then now when you use it, it's going to be raising the Brave gain based on max Brave. And remember, she also raises the party's Brave based on max Brave with this. She extends the duration of any currently active Raises Win, which is her frame buff, by 1 turn. And then now she triggers a 2-hit range Brave plus HP attack after usage, which makes this ability a lot more efficient, so she can actually deal damage after using it. And to top it off, it has an overflow of 120%. So the ability has more uses, gives you more Brave, extends the duration of the buff, which is always nice, and now she can also deal damage, which makes her more efficient with this ability. And then when you use her jump command, she's going to be raising the party's Brave based on attack, so that's always a good thing. And then the Brave hits are now increased to 2, and it also increases the Brave potency of that command by a moderate amount. Now her skill 2, Dragon's Breath, also got an upgrade. So Dragon's Breath does the following. It gets a big Brave damage total potency increase, which is great. There's a Stolen Brave overflow now of 150%. She also deals HP splash damage of 50% to other targets, and then also extends the duration of Dragon Crest by 3 turns, and then she further increases the Dragon Crest stacks by 1 whenever she's breaking or attacking a broken target. So very solid upgrade there for Dragon Breath with a rework. And then when you're using her high jump command, the Brave hits are now at 2. It gets an increase of Brave potency by a moderate amount, and then it also raises the party's Brave based on the HP damage she deals. So overall, it just pretty much, upgraded what she was able to do. She's able to dish out, some pretty good damage, and also keep your party, kind of like a pseudo support with the battery and the regen that she gets, from Raises Win. Now we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the debut of her EX weapon, which is Partisan. So we're gonna click on it right over here. So before you realize this EX weapon, this is what it does. So it gives her the EX ability called Cherry Blossom, which is a 6-hit ranged AoE Brave plus HP attack. The Brave hits are distributed when there are multiple enemies, so not all the Brave hits are going to be hitting all at once. So it's kind of like that random, AoE Brave attack. You know what I mean? Kind of like for example, like Renoa's EX ability. There is a Brave overflow of 120% on this ability. HP damage is split equally amongst multiple targets, and then it grants a brand new buff called Healing Petals for 2 turns. And this is the selling point for me on this EX weapon, is this Healing Petals, because while it is active, all party members have that last stand. So anytime they're at least 50% of max HP and they get hit with a fatal blow, they're going to be left with 1 HP. So that's actually very life-saving. So this is a huge selling point for me on this EX weapon. And to top it off, it also increases the party's attack and max Brave overflow. Pretty cool, right? So for me, that's already a pretty solid EX weapon. And then when you limit break it, it's going to get the standard upgrades. It's going to be raising the Brave damage dealt by the EX ability. It's going to be extending the duration of Healing Petals by 2 turns, so now it's for 4 turns, and then it raises the recast speed. Now when you realize the weapon, let's go ahead and take a look at what it does. So initial realization, when you're using Cherry Blossom, it's now a 6-hit ranged AoE Brave plus HP attack executed twice. All right, so now she deals damage twice, which is great. It also gets a tremendous Brave damage potency increase, and also moderately raises Brave damage dealt with jump and high jump. So it improves her jump and high jump, and also the EX ability itself, dealing more damage because now she hits twice. On 1 out of 3, she's going to be permanently raising her max Brave and attack. 2 out of 3, she's going to start off with Raises Wind and Healing Petals for 6 turns, which is life-saving. Pretty amazing. Now you're benefiting from that last stand, you're benefiting from that attack and Brave overflow boost, and you're also benefiting from that, the HP regen. And when you're using Cherry Blossom, it's going to be extending the duration of Healing Petals by 2 turns. So any active Healing Petals, you're going to be extending the duration for that by 2 turns. And then finally, 3 out of 3, Healing Petals gains the following effects. So now granting the party an HP regen. And it's also going to be further improving Cherry Blossom, which is going to be raising the party's Brave based on max Brave before the Brave hits, getting another Brave damage potency increase, and also greatly increasing the Brave overflow, allowing her to dish out more damage. And then finally, the D-type sphere that we unlock from this is called HP Up All. So it raises the party's max HP by 10%. I like that. That's, there's no other there's no conditional requirements to activate that. You equip it and you raise the party's max HP by 10%. And we like more HP, so we can take more HP damage. So between the two, as you can see right here, I know Prompto is supposed to be the star character of this Lost Chapters, But for me, Freya is the selling point for this banner if you guys are going to be investing in this banner. You get HP regen, you get that last stand to the entire party, increased attack, increased Brave Overflow, very solid damage. She's a good pseudo support. She can, help keep your party alive. So Freya for me is a pretty solid investment. Now, would I go all out? Would I throw like hundreds of tickets or pity this weapon? If she's your favorite, maybe you could do that, but it's only because we know what's coming out after this where I would kind of be a little bit more conservative with your resources. But for sure on this banner for Prompto's Lost Chapters, Freya is the check mark for me, whereas Prompto is kind of like, maybe not. So Freya is the selling point for the banner, guys. So if you're going to be pulling on this banner, Freya's the one to try to go for. Prompto's kind of like your consolidation prize. He's okay. If you wanna use a character that is kind of underappreciated, kind of underrated, then he's right there for you. But Freya for me, like I said, is the selling point for this Lost Chapters banner. So hopefully that helps you guys out in deciding whether these two characters are worth it for you. Our last topic we're going to quickly cover for this video will be the Chaos difficulty boss fight against the returning pair of Sergeant Imps. Both bosses are quad resistant to magic brave damage and absorb both the thunder and wind elements. Throughout the battle, one of them will act as the supporter while the other goes on the offense, inflicting damage on your party. Both imps can inflict debuffs such as Confuse, Speed Down, and Defense Down. They can also apply a Brave Shield to one another, similar to Warrior of Light's shield. Their most devastating attack is called Calamity Bomber, which recovers their break status and inflicts an AoE Brave plus HP attack, with the HP attack dealing 100% HP damage to your party. You have a total of 90 turns for the completion achievement for this Chaos fight, so characters with free turns such as King, Vayne, Ramza, or Aranea can be good options for this fight. Prompto and Freya can be useful not only for their synergy, but for the mechanics they bring, such as Taunt and Evasion for Prompto, and Freya's buffs with the Last Stand effect. Other great options you can use are Bosch for his HP damage mitigation, Gala for his Evade and Counter, Snow for his AoE taunt and gradually increasing Brave damage reduction, and Porum for her massive heals and HP reduction. This concludes my video for the upcoming Prompto Lost Chapters on Global Opera Omnia. Just a quick reminder, be sure to check out the video cards that appear throughout the video if you're interested in checking out my other videos, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you are immediately informed of the next video. Thank you again for watching. This is 40 the Broadway Saiyan signing out. Mahal, everyone.